She was bold, outspoken, and unapologetically herself. Jasmine Hill had a presence that filled a room before she even spoke. From her vibrant outfits to the confidence she radiated in every selfie, she wasn't hiding from the world. She was living out loud, with a sharp tongue, a bigger laugh, and the kind of spirit that didn't beg for acceptance, it demanded it. But on one unseasonably warm Friday night in October, Jasmine left her home in Waco, Texas, wearing her favorite red jumpsuit, a full bead of makeup, and her favorite boots, the ones that made her feel 10 feet tall, according to her sister. She was headed to Austin, nearly 2 hours away, to meet someone she'd only spoken to online. Her messages to her closest friend were playful and flirtatious, ending with a casual, "Girl, I'll text you when I get there. Unless he's fine, then you won't hear from me till morning." That text would be the last thing anyone ever received from her phone. At 11:33 p.m., hotel security cameras captured her stepping into the lobby of the roadway off Interstate 35. She smiled briefly at the front desk clerk, picked up her key card, and walked toward room 304. That was the last time Jasmine Hill was seen alive. 12 hours later, the hotel housekeeper opened the door to 304 and froze. The bed was stripped bare. A single boot lay in the middle of the floor. The bathroom mirror was fogged up, but scrawled across it in red lipstick were 3 chilling words: "You knew everything." Her phone was found face down near the dresser, still recording on the voice memo app. Her purse was untouched. There were no signs of forced entry, no screams reported during the night, no visible blood, but the air in the room felt cold in a way that had nothing to do with the temperature. And Jasmine was gone. By the time the sun set that day, her car had been located 7 miles away, abandoned behind a shuttered strip mall. Her keys were in the ignition. The driver's seat was pushed back, her perfume still clung to the air inside the vehicle. And on the passenger seat was a plastic motel key card, from a completely different hotel, one she'd never checked into. What began as a road trip for connection, desire, or maybe just a few hours of fun, had turned into something else entirely. And as investigators peeled back each layer of Jasmine's final night, they uncovered a maze of fake identities, deleted messages, and a man who should never have been trusted. This is the story of Jasmine Hill. Proud. Fearless. Gone. And the truth doesn't come easily. It never does. But piece by piece, we will walk through the hours that led up to her disappearance. We will hear the voices that were ignored, read the messages that should have raised alarms, and follow the trail that eventually led to a shallow grave and a name no one was prepared to say out loud. Because this wasn't just a tragic meeting between strangers. It was a carefully laid plan. One that required distance, silence, and a victim who didn't see it coming. Not because she was naive. But because she believed she was safe. She wasn't. And by the time the door to room 304 closed behind her, the outcome was already decided. Keep watching. Every second matters. Every word means something. The date was October 13, 2023. A Friday. In Waco, the sky had dimmed into a soft gray by late afternoon. Clouds hung low, thick with the kind of weight that made everything feel just a little quieter than usual. Jasmine Hill had spent most of that day in her apartment, scrolling through messages, answering DMs, and preparing for a night she'd been teasing about all week. She had always been open about her body and her confidence. On Instagram, she called herself Texas Thick with a capital T, and her followers loved her for it. But away from the filters and captions, Jasmine was feeling restless. 34, single, raising a 12-year-old daughter who was spending the weekend with her grandmother. She had the house to herself and no reason to say no when a man she'd been messaging on and off for weeks asked if she wanted to finally meet up. His name, or the one he used, was Jay. He said he lived in Austin, worked nights in a warehouse, and wasn't about the drama. Their conversations had been flirtatious, sometimes a little crude, but Jasmine didn't mind. She was used to men being forward, and she could hold her own. They agreed on a place halfway between downtown and the outskirts, a small, budget hotel that didn't ask too many questions and had an all-night check-in. Jasmine booked the room under her own name. She always did. She didn't see the point in letting a man handle the details, especially one she hadn't met yet. At 9:42 p.m., she sent her friend Candace a voice note. "Girl, if this man catfishes me, I swear I'm turning around." But his voice? Oof. Deep. Real deep. Wish me luck. By 9:50, she was in her car. A red 2016 Dodge Charger with tinted windows and a playlist full of Megan Thee Stallion, SZA, and old-school Keisha Cole. She drove straight down I-35, stopping once at a gas station just outside Temple. The CCTV footage shows her smiling as she grabs a soda, a pack of gum, and checks her reflection in the security mirror. She looked relaxed. Excited, even. That was 10:48 p.m. No one knows exactly what happened in the next 45 minutes. But at 11:33 p.m., she pulled into the parking lot of the Roadway Inn. She parked in the back, near the stairwell. The footage captured her stepping out of the car, adjusting her jumpsuit, checking her phone, then walking toward the lobby. Her body language didn't suggest fear. No hesitation. No glancing over her shoulder. She looked like someone who expected to be greeted with a smile. The man she came to meet was already inside. At least, that's what the check-in log suggests. Jasmine was given room 304, third floor, end of the hallway, near the ice machine. The clerk remembered her, said she was real put together, smelled like flowers and fire at the same time. That was the last confirmed sighting of Jasmine Hill. 12 hours later, the housekeeping manager unlocked room 304. She had knocked twice with no answer. Her first step inside triggered something in her gut, not fear, exactly, but unease. The bed was untouched. The sheets were still crisp, pillows stacked. But the air was heavy. The lampshade beside the bed was tilted at an angle, one of its bulbs smashed on the carpet. The mirror in the bathroom was fogged with condensation, even though the room had been unoccupied for hours. And then there were the words. Smeared in lipstick, written in jagged strokes as if the writer's hand was shaking, "You knew everything." Her phone was on the dresser. Still unlocked. A voice memo was running, capturing nothing but silence and static. No Jasmine. No blood. No clothing strewn around. No suitcase. Just absence. The hotel called the police. At first, it was logged as a welfare check. Missing person cases in the first 24 hours don't always get the attention they deserve. But when officers ran her name, found the abandoned car 7 miles south, and realized the last signal from her phone was at 2:08 a.m., long after she was supposed to have gone to bed, the case shifted from missing to suspicious. Her red Dodge Charger was located in the corner of an empty lot behind an old strip mall in South Austin. The engine was cool. The doors were locked. Inside, her overnight bag was gone, but her wallet was still there. Her driver's license. A pair of sunglasses. And something that didn't belong, a motel key from a different location, across town. No fingerprints. No receipts. No record of her checking into the second hotel. Detectives began pulling security footage from every location between the Roadway Inn and the strip mall. They started contacting anyone in Jasmine's call log. Her social media accounts. Her dating profiles. But one name stood out immediately. Jay, the man she drove 120 miles to meet, had vanished. His account was gone. Phone disconnected. Photos deleted. Messages wiped. Who was he? Why had he disappeared the moment Jasmine went missing? And what happened in that room? The next steps in the investigation would uncover details no one was ready for, not her family, not her friends, and certainly not the strangers who thought they knew her through a screen. Because the closer they looked, the more twisted the story became. And Jasmine's last night alive was only the beginning. The first 24 hours brought more questions than answers. Detectives were working around the clock, but progress was slow, weighed down by dead ends, vanishing leads, and a victim who, until that night, had never crossed paths with law enforcement. There was no known history of violence, no ex-boyfriends making threats, no custody disputes, no feuds. Jasmine Hill was clean. Her life wasn't the kind that typically led to a violent disappearance. But then came the messages. Candace, Jasmine's best friend, returned to the police station on the second day. She had gone through their recent texts again, this time with the fear that she had missed something. She hadn't, but what she had saved changed the direction of the case. A screenshot of a conversation between Jasmine and Jay, taken just days before the meetup. He wrote, "You ever been with someone who makes you forget where you are?" She replied, "That's a bold promise. Guess I'll have to see for myself." He responded with something else. Just one line. "No matter what happens, just remember, you said yes." Detectives flagged that message immediately. The tone. The implication. It wasn't flirtation. It was possession. Like he believed that whatever happened after that night was owed, not negotiated. The man calling himself Jay had used a burner phone. No name attached, prepaid, purchased in cash from a convenience store in San Antonio. The number had been activated 2 weeks before Jasmine went missing. And now, it was dead. But technology leaves trails, even when people try to cover them. Cell tower records placed Jay's phone near the hotel that night. Between 11 p.m. and 2:15 a.m., it pinged 3 separate towers, all within a 5-mile radius. That phone was moving. Meanwhile, digital forensics uncovered something else on Jasmine's end. An audio file, one that wasn't saved on the phone's app, but buried inside her cloud backup. A voice memo, roughly 13 minutes long. It was corrupted near the end, but the first few minutes were clear. Jasmine's voice came first. Light, joking, flirtatious. "So, are you always this mysterious or just saving the good stuff for in person?" Then silence. Then a man. Low voice. Calm. "I don't like pictures. I don't like lies. And I don't like when people play games." There was tension in her response. Her tone changed. "Nah, you're making this weird. I didn't sign up for all that." He replied, flatly. "You signed up for more than you know." The last audible sound was the click of the door chain being slid into place. And then static. Detectives released a portion of the clip to the public, hoping someone would recognize the voice. Tips poured in, but most led nowhere. People swore they knew that voice, a cousin, an old neighbor, a guy from high school who got out of prison last year. None of them matched. Then, a woman came forward. She didn't want her name on the record. She asked to remain anonymous, but she brought with her something concrete, a photo. It was a blurry selfie, taken inside a car, of her and a man with light brown skin, a short beard, wearing a hoodie pulled halfway over his head. She claimed he used the same name, Jay, and that they had met on the same dating app 3 months earlier. He had picked her up, taken her to a motel, and during the night, he became aggressive. She said he snapped when she asked for his last name. Grabbed her phone. Locked her in the room for hours. She escaped when he fell asleep. She never filed a report. But now she was ready to talk. Her description matched Jasmine's man. The voice, the build, the patterns, all of it lined up. When she was shown the surveillance photo of the hooded man leaving the roadway and through the back stairwell at 1:23 a.m., she didn't hesitate. "That's him. That's the guy. Investigators intensified the search. They tracked the burner phone's purchase, reviewed security footage from the store, and enhanced the grainy image to reveal part of the license plate on the man's car. It was enough. The vehicle was registered to a Marcus Devlin, age 29. No violent record. A handful of misdemeanors. Parking tickets. A sealed juvenile file. Nothing that screamed predator. But then came the connection. Marcus's half-brother had been convicted in 2016 for false imprisonment and aggravated assault against a woman he met online. He was out on parole. And Marcus? He'd been living in his brother's old house on the east side of Austin. With a search warrant in hand, police entered the residence. It was quiet. Sparse. But inside a locked drawer in the bedroom dresser, they found Jasmine's earrings. The same ones she wore in the gas station footage. Still clasped together. Untouched. Beside them, a phone. Wiped. No SIM card. And underneath the mattress, they found something else. A motel room key. The same motel her car's passenger seat key card had come from. Now there were 2 hotels. 2 separate locations tied to the same night. And the man who said nothing was wrong was running out of places to hide. But just when the pieces began to come together, everything shifted again. Because Marcus wasn't alone that night. Someone else was with him. And the moment investigators realized who she was, the case took a turn no one expected. The woman's name was never spoken during the early stages of the investigation. Not in the interviews. Not in the recordings. Not in any of the text messages recovered from Jasmine's cloud or the hidden files on Marcus Devlin's devices. But her presence hung over every scene like an echo. The first trace came from a fingerprint. Partial. Lifted from the inside door handle of Jasmine's Dodge Charger. It didn't belong to Marcus. It didn't belong to Jasmine. And it didn't belong to any member of hotel staff, according to the fingerprint database. 2 days after that discovery, investigators received an anonymous tip. A woman, thin, mid-30s, long dark braids, had been seen pacing outside the second motel at dawn, around the same time Jasmine's car was abandoned. She'd looked nervous. Distracted. Wearing oversized clothes. One witness remembered she was holding a cell phone in one hand, but never looked at it. Just clutching it. Walking in slow circles. Surveillance footage confirmed the sighting. She never entered the lobby. Never went into a room. But her face, though partially obscured by the hood of her sweatshirt, was captured in a brief moment as she turned toward the camera. That single frame was all police had. No name. No vehicle. No movement beyond that lot. Until they searched Marcus Devlin's browser history. In the cache of deleted files, one stood out. A contact form submitted to an encrypted email provider. The recipient was listed as N. The message was short. She's on her way. Be ready. A break in the timeline. A third player. Detectives began going over every second of footage from the roadway in, and there it was, buried in the background of a hallway camera from 11:49 p.m. A woman. Slim build. Hoodie. Sneakers. She was walking in the opposite direction of room 304. No one had noticed her before because the focus had always been on Jasmine's entrance, not the corridor. But the timestamp matched the moment Jasmine entered her room. And she was carrying something in her hand. A small, dark object. Possibly a phone. Possibly something else. The search expanded. For weeks, authorities traced every female associate of Marcus Devlin. Co-workers. Ex-girlfriends. Old neighbors. None of them matched. But someone did recognize the woman in the footage. An officer from Travis County, who had worked a domestic call 2 years earlier involving Marcus's brother. He remembered a woman who refused to give her name, who screamed louder than the victim, and who disappeared before backup arrived. No report was filed. No charges pressed. But the officer remembered the tattoos. A rose on her wrist. A pair of initials near her collarbone. It matched the image from the motel. Now, they had something solid. Her name was Nia Langston. 36 years old. No criminal record. No social media presence. A ghost in the system, except for one application for a state ID, issued 4 years earlier under a different address. Detectives tracked the address. It was vacant. But neighbors remembered her. Said she moved out suddenly, left the place spotless. Didn't take anything with her. Just vanished. So how did she connect to Marcus? Phone records gave the answer. 3 weeks before Jasmine disappeared, Nia and Marcus had exchanged over 200 text messages. Most of them were deleted, but one backup remained on an older phone found in his car. The last message from Nia read, "Don't forget what she did. We finished this together." That changed everything. Jasmine wasn't just a woman lured into a dangerous hookup. She had been chosen. Watched. Tracked. But for what? Investigators went deeper. They poured through Jasmine's social media, looking for any overlap with Marcus or Nia. And then, buried in a post from nearly 4 years earlier, they found it. A comment. One sentence. "Girl, you lucky he didn't snap on you like he did my sis." The account was deactivated, the username generic. But the words were chilling. It was posted on a photo Jasmine had shared in 2019, a picture with a man, shirtless, arms slung over her shoulder. Jasmine had dated Marcus's brother briefly in 2019. The relationship ended quickly, and according to friends, she'd told people he was controlling and reckless. When he was arrested months later for assaulting another woman, Jasmine was subpoenaed as a character witness. She never testified. The plea deal went through before trial. But someone blamed her. Someone believed she was responsible for what happened. And someone wanted her to pay for it. Jasmine had no idea the man she was texting in 2023 was connected to that past. She had no way of knowing that the casual flirtation was anything but. But Marcus remembered. And Nia never forgot. Together, they plotted a meeting. Created a fake profile. Set the trap. Jasmine's final hours, from the moment she checked into room 304 to the last second her voice was recorded, were orchestrated by two people acting on revenge disguised as romance. And when the final twist came, it was even more disturbing than anyone expected. Because Jasmine Hill didn't die in room 304. And she didn't die at the second motel either. Her body was discovered 34 days later in a shallow grave, 28 miles outside Austin. Wrapped in the same red jumpsuit she wore the night she disappeared. Her cause of death. Manual strangulation. No defensive wounds. No sign she ever fought back. Only silence. A silence that would now echo through courtrooms, living rooms, and every platform where her voice had once filled a scream. It took months before the case against Marcus Devlin and Nia Langston was ready for court. The public didn't hear much during that time. The media covered the discovery of Jasmine's body, the arrests, the press conferences. But the deeper layers, what she endured, what was found in the days following the autopsy, what her family had to sit through in the privacy of cold, dimly lit interview rooms, none of that made the headlines. Because it wasn't just painful. It was humiliating. In the days after Nia Langston's arrest, she refused to speak to anyone. No confession. No statements. No explanation. For 62 hours, she sat in a cell without saying a word, staring at the wall, blinking only when asked a direct question. When she finally agreed to speak, it was to one detective. And only on one condition. No cameras. No recordings. Just a pen and paper. What she told them was sickening. She claimed it had started as a scare tactic. That they never intended to kill Jasmine, only to make her feel what she made others feel. She spoke as if the trauma was justice. As if Jasmine was some kind of thief, taking reputations and futures by calling out dangerous men. She thought she could ruin someone's life and walk away untouched, Nia said. We just wanted her to feel the weight of that. But somewhere in the timeline, it went further. Marcus had planned more. Nia admitted she didn't know until it was too late, but the moment Jasmine was dead, she helped cover it. Helped clean the room. Helped move the body. Helped disappear. And she would have kept disappearing, if not for the one mistake. That single print on the car door. In August of the following year, the trial began. The courtroom was packed, reporters, true crime bloggers, family members, strangers who felt they knew Jasmine because they had watched her live her life through a screen. Jasmine's mother was there every day. Her sister too. They wore red every morning in her memory. The prosecution laid out the timeline with brutal precision. Jasmine had been lured with fake affection, trapped by people who already hated her, and killed not in the heat of passion, but out of cold, rehearsed revenge. Marcus showed no emotion during the trial. His lawyer tried to argue diminished responsibility, claiming trauma, a broken home, a toxic influence from his older brother. The jury didn't care. He was found guilty on all counts: kidnapping, unlawful restraint, and first-degree murder. Life without parole. Nia Langston, despite her late confession and cooperation, was convicted of second-degree murder and tampering with a corpse. She was sentenced to 34 years, one for each year of Jasmine's life. But for Jasmine's family, no number would be high enough. They didn't just lose a daughter, a sister, a mother. They lost the chance to say goodbye. They lost trust in the idea that meeting someone new could be exciting and safe. They lost the version of Jasmine that should have grown older, laughed louder, and kept living. In the years that followed, Jasmine's name became more than a story. It became a warning. Lawmakers in Texas introduced a bill that would require dating apps to verify identities with more than just an email address. They called it Jasmine's Law. The proposal faced pushback, but the conversation had started. Her name was now part of something bigger. Online, the hashtag Justice for Jasmine reached over 2 million views. Videos were made. Podcasts unpacked every detail of her final night. True crime forums debated every move Marcus and Nia made. But somewhere in all that noise, her mother said something that wasn't captured in a tweet or on camera. She said, "I just want people to remember she was more than this case. She was love. She was music. She was the reason we laughed at dinner. I want the world to know who they took from us." And maybe that's what this story really is about. A woman who showed up in every room with fire and color and light, who believed that love was still worth chasing, even if it came from a stranger, and who deserved to come home. Instead, her name became a headline. A warning. A case number. But not forgotten. Never forgotten. So now, it's your turn to decide what happens next. Do you believe justice was served? Do you think Nia Langston deserved the sentence she got? And what do we do about the thousands of people, men and women, meeting strangers every night under the illusion of safety? Should dating apps be held accountable? Should more laws be passed to prevent cases like this? Or are we just waiting for the next Jasmine? Tell us what you think in the comments. Share her story. Say her name. And if you've made it this far, subscribe. Because we cover the cases that need to be heard. The voices that were taken. And the truths too many people try to bury. This was the story of Jasmine Hill. Proud. Fearless. Gone. And this time, we know exactly who to blame.